here live in the GIAA virtual studios on GIAA.tv, GIAA Facebook page, and YouTube channel. It's Thrift, it's Rich. It's finally here. It's championship week for soccer and baseball. We have been talking about it for the last month and a half, and we're finally here, man, and I'm super excited about it. I know you are too, Big Rich.
I cannot wait for the next 5 days. We've got championship for soccer for 2 days on the 27th and 28th at Stratford Academy. And then it's at Synovus Park for the GIAA baseball championships on the 28th and the 29th, 30th, 31st. And we have got the brackets for you. And I can't wait to talk about them.
I can't wait to either. We're going to be having a fantastic show. Obviously, we'll talk baseball first, and then Richard and Coach Iain did soccer second, and we'll come back for an outro to kind of sum up what has been a fantastic last couple of weeks here, and what has been a great year in general, as this will be not our last show, because I do plan on doing some shows maybe late at night on Thursday and Friday to kind of recap what happened, maybe even updates on Instagram. We haven't kind of decided on how that's going to go, but I promise you we're going to have you some type of coverage while we are down there on the GIAA Facebook page. Unfortunately for Richard, he will not be able to be in attendance because of his first job, which is being in the military. So I will be down in Macon, and also got Graham Tuck, who is the Macon Mayhem hockey announcer. He'll be joining me. I got Aiden Mozingo, who will also be joining us on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I got Dave Plata. I have Rick Beach, myself, and Steve Smith, longtime coach at Calvary. That will be the broadcast team that'll bring you the baseball. So we're excited to be able to bring you these great coverage. And it's going to be, I'm telling you, a fantastic week of state championships. We're presented by the Beck Center. Thank you to Roger Beck and the Beck Center of Academic and Athletic Success. We would not be where we're at, and we would not even have this show if it were not for the support of Roger Beck. Okay. So let's do this, Richard. Let's just quickly go over what's happening in soccer. And then I know you and Coach Iain broke down for a long segment, really dived into each classification championships, as there's 6 soccer championships, as there's 2A, 3A, and 4A, boys and girls. So let's talk about the bracket, Richard. And I'm going to throw up this. I don't have to throw it up, but I will talk about starting in 2A. For the girls, the number 1 team, Central Fellowship, they defeated Heritage in the quarters, Sherwood in the semis, and now they're taking on the number 2 seed, Westminster. That's going to be a common theme. We got a lot of chalk in these state championship games, except for one championship game, and we'll talk about which one that is here in a moment. But Westminster beat Georgia Christian, the 3 seed, and, of course, 7 seed Gatewood. This is going to be a fantastic matchup, Richard. And then in the 2A boys, we have Holy Spirit, the number 1 seed, taking on number 2 Heritage. Again, chalk. Holy Spirit beat Sherwood, and Trinity Christian. Heritage beat Westminster and Central Fellowship. In 3A girls, 1 versus 2, St. Andrews and Frederica. St. Andrews beat John Millage and Westminster of Augusta. Frederica beat Terrell and Brookwood. And then in the 3A boys, it's number 1 Westminster of Augusta taking on number 2 Brookwood. Brookwood beat St. Andrews and John Millage. Westminster beat Valwood and Lakeview. And then in the 4A girls, we got St. Anne Pacelli, as they're the number 1 seed. They took down Bullock, and they're ranked top 5 in the country. They took down Bullock, and then they took down number 4 FPD in a 5-2 win. Pacelli back in the state championship, and they've got a common foe, the team they played last year, the Brookstone girls. The 6 seed Brookstone defeated Tatnall in the first round. Then in the quarters, defeated the Kings Academy 3 seed on the road, and then went to Stratford, the number 2 seed, and defeated them. So we got a rematch of last year's state championship, 1 versus 6. Brookstone won last year. Coach Cochran and the Vikings are trying to avenge this year. And then the Vikings of Pacelli took down number 1 Tallulah Falls on the road. They also beat Cristo Rey. Pacelli, the defending champion, back in it again. Coach Gage has done a great job. And then, of course, Coach Iain Jones and Stratford. We knew this is probably a collision course. Stratford and Pacelli. Stratford took down Bullock and then took down Calvary Christian in what was a fantastic game, Richard. So I know you're excited about all those games, and I know you're got a great segment coming up with Coach Iain. If you want to give a quick teaser on what kind of some of the things that y'all were discussing. Any hot takes?
Well, there's a reason why it was 27 minutes long. He just happened to be the coach of Stratford Academy, and they're also the host. We go into what it means for Stratford Academy to host all the classifications for GIAA soccer.
Yep.
But he's excited. He's hoping that his team can go back to back, but they're going to have a tough task against a Pacelli team that I felt was underseeded just because they played a lot of great GHSA schools. They beat the team that went to the GHSA soccer finals in Shaw. And they beat a 7A school in Central in Alabama. They played a lot of tough competition. But, yeah, that was a huge upset win by Pacelli over Tallua Falls.
Yes, it was. And I know y'all going to dissect all that coming up here in just a little bit. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about those baseball brackets. Again, pretty much chalk except for one classification, just like we were just talking about with soccer. Me and Richard kind of called it, but we're going to go in depth with each championship series. We cannot wait to give you all the information as we are getting you ready for the GIAA Soccer and Baseball State Championship Soccer Tuesday and Wednesday at Stratford. Game started at 2:30, 5 and 7:30. Girls on Tuesday, 2A, 3A, and then 4A at night. And then on Wednesday, it's boys, 2:30, 5 and 7:30. And that is 2A, 3A, and 4A, just like it was the night before with the girls. And then on Thursday, Friday, we talk game 1 and games 2. 1A is at 10 o'clock. 2A is at 1 o'clock. 3A is at 4 o'clock. And then 4A is at 7 o'clock, all at Synovus Park. Richard, let's go ahead and pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to talk about those baseball brackets right here on Inside the GIAA.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Inside the GIAA on GIAA.tv. And let's go ahead and throw them up there. Let's start with the 1A classification. All right, Richard, you start with Citizens Christian. The number 1 team took on number 5, Westwood. How did that series play out, man?
Yeah, it was a 2-game sweep for Citizens Christian. They take game 1 by a score of 8-2, and they take game 2 10-2. So 2 wins in decisive fashion for Citizens Christian.
Yeah, and Citizens Christian, who has been number 1 for the last several weeks. Remember, at the beginning of the year, Richard, it was the Flint River Wildcats who played in it. But how about the job, and it was a great job by Citizens Christian, getting into the championship, Richard. And they're going to be taking on Vidalia Heritage. And Citizens Christian, by the way, is 21-7 on the year. How about Vidalia Heritage? They're the only team out of any classification, Richard, that has pulled off upsets. As a 7 seed, they took down Covenant. And then after they took down Covenant, Richard, they went on to then face Flint River, the number 2 seed. They beat Covenant 8-4, 14-5. They swept Flint River 9-7 and 6-2. And then they took down Grace Christian, who beat the defending champion Robert Toombs 12-4, 4-3. This Vidalia Heritage team has not lost a playoff game. They are 6-0. They are hot, and that's what I keep trying to tell everyone, especially in baseball. It's not always who's the best team. It's who's playing the best at that time and who's the hottest. And right now, no one's playing hotter and playing better than Vidalia Heritage. And they're led by Jake Adams, their first baseman, junior, batting .382. Luke Moxley, the senior, he's batting .371. They got 2 guys in that have on the pitching staffs that have below 3.5 ERA, and both have 5 wins, and Posey and White. I'm telling you, y'all better not sleep on Vidalia Heritage, the number 7 seed. They have now just taken the GIAA 1A classification by storm. Coach Josh Norton has them in the championship series, man. And let's talk about this right now. All right, Citizens Christian, I would say, comes in as the favorite, Richard. And, you look at how their schedule has played out during the playoffs, too, as they did not lose a game either. As they swept Thomas Jefferson and Westwood. They didn't have to play that first round, so they only played 4 playoff games. They are right now on a 8-game winning streak. How do you see this one playing out, man? Do you think Vidalia Heritage takes the momentum of being hot and upset Citizens Christian?
Well, you're looking at two teams that have both been hot, and Vidalia Heritage has played more games because they had an extra round.
Right.
Sometimes that does work in the underdog's favor, but Citizens Christian has been, the number one team most of the year. But I actually think that Vidalia Heritage, if their bats can get the starting pitching, I do believe the Citizens Christian has the advantage in starting pitching because they're able to have players rested. But also, you talk about a team like Citizens Christian that had a bye in that first round, but they didn't skip a beat. It's an evenly matched series, but I do think that Citizens Christian does come out on top. It's going to be very interesting to see. I think it goes 3 games. I think we're going to have a game at Synovus Park on May the 31st, even though there's a slight chance that we could have no games on May the 31st at Synovus Park. Like every single championship ends in 2 games.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked at that either, Rich. But I'm going to say this. I think Vidalia Heritage continues the momentum and wins the championship. I'm riding with them, baby. Give me Vidalia Heritage Academy. The Eagles winning the championship in 1A as a 7 seed, upsetting. And did they do this, Richard? They would have beat the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed, and the number 1 seed in a playoff run. That would be incredible. Wow, what a job by Vidalia Heritage if that's going to happen. They play again on Thursday at 10 a.m. I will be on the call with Dave Platt both Thursday and Friday. Looking forward to calling that. Citizens Christian, Vidalia Heritage is one of the classifications I'm really looking forward to. Let's go to 2A, Rich. Gatewood, the number 1 team. They took down Trinity Christian. They also beat Brentwood, Gatewood. The Gators from Gatewood are back in the championship game once again. They have not lost a playoff game either. They beat Brentwood 9-0, 10-0, and they beat Trinity Christian 5-1 and 6-5 as they head to the championship. They take on Southwest Georgia Academy. They are themselves on a 5-game winning streak, and they are taking on a team in Southwest Georgia that's pretty good themselves. I think they only got 2 or 3 losses on the year. Lawson Moore, freshman, leads the team in average with a 391. He's also got 4 home runs, but nobody. And then how about this? Jaden Moss, another freshman, is batting 371. He has 9 home runs. So you got 2 freshmen leading this team, and the third guy who leads the team in batting third in the batting average, Connor Mitchum. Guess what he is, Richard?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, what are you talking? He leads in batting average, right?
Yeah. No, he's a freshman, man.
He's a freshman. Oh yeah. Oh, it's classification
up there, right, man? And you messed up. Come on. But the pitching staff.
I'm going through my notes here, Thrift. I'm trying to get. I actually thought I was going to be scouting on Southwest Georgia, and you are.
You are. I know, but Gatewood, they're in the championship, and they're led by 3 incredible freshmen. I cannot wait to see these Gatewood Gators as they're going to be taking on Southwest Georgia. The head coach of the Gators is Brandon Moss. So Brandon Moss, great job by him, and they'll be taking on Southwest Georgia. How did they do against Edmund Burke, the 3 seed, Richard, in the semis?
Well, you got the number 2 seed Southwest Georgia taking on the number 3 seed Edmund Burke. Took game 1 9-4. Edmund Burke ended up taking game 2 13-8, and so the stage was set. A winner take all game 3 on May the 24th, and Southwest Georgia takes care of business, and they defeat Edmund Burke 16-6 to push their record to 25-3.
Wow.
They have been talented all season long, and you got a team that's hot going into the championship against Gatewood, the defending champions, and it's going to be just incredible high-tempo baseball for both of these teams, and I can't wait.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Gatewood has not lost a playoff game. Southwest Georgia did. Now, they were able to take care of Rock Springs easily, but Edmund Burke, they lost a game. They won the first one 9-4, lost second one 13-8, as you may mention, then won the winner take all 16-6. But This one's going to be up for grabs. I'm going to lean towards the 3 freshmen. I think their bats have been sensational. I think Gatewood has been the number 1 team all year long in the 2A classification. I think the Gators are going to be the one holding up the trophy and winning the championship. But I think this is going to be a series that could easily go 3 games, as you may mention. How do you think this one's going to play out, Richard? Southwest Georgia, Gatewood.
Well, I mean, Gatewood are the defending champions. You talk about those hot freshmen, Jaden Moss with 9 home runs, and you also have Lawson Moore leading the team with 28 RBIs. I love the fact that your 2 top hitters are freshmen. They got the 2 top slugging percentage, and then Connor Meacham. You throw him in there.
Another freshman, man. That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you, there are 3 freshmen in this Gatewood lineup that can rake it, and their pitching is not too bad either. Walker Roberts, I mean, you got a senior starter. He's probably going to be your game 1 starter. He's got a 109 earned run average, and I'm just very interested to see how Gatewood responds to a very hot Southwest Georgia team coming in here. I expect it's going to be some battles. This series could go 3 games. I would not be surprised if you're back at Synovus Park on May the 31st calling this one, which, by the way, the reason why, if you look at the bracket, it says TBA, because let's say the class 1A sweeps and they're not going to start, they're not going to play a game at 10 o'clock and then wait. That they're going to have games like at 4 and 7:30. They're because they want to try to get those games in prime time if it is a game 3.
All right, so let's go to 3A now. And again, those 2A games all will be at 1 p.m. on Thursday and Friday. Saturday is still up in the air because we don't know who's going to be there and what time they're going to want to play that. And I'm going to let you start first with Frederica, the number 1 seed, as they took down Thrift area in the quarters, and they took on John Millage. How did that series play out, Rich?
Yeah, Frederica ended up getting a split with John Millage, to start. They must have had a rain out because John Millage actually took game 1, 13-3 on May the 23rd. And then they had the rare games 2 and 3. I guess they're following the same format as the Alabama playoffs because game 1 was on the 23rd, games 2 and 3 were on the 24th. Frederica edges out John Millage 3-2. So they got their backs against the wall for this game 3. Frederica in a pitcher's duel ends up beating John Millage in the winner take all game 3. And I was not surprised that this series went to 3 games because we know how tough John Millage has been. They've been in the state championship before for 3A. But yeah, this was a very hard fought series, and Frederica was able to get the job done, the number 1 overall seed.
And they take on the number 2 seed Pinewood. They beat Valwood in the quarters, and they took on Dominion Christian. And Pinewood has had their backs against the wall, not 1, but 2 different series. So both these teams know how to win when their backs are against the wall. They lost to Valwood in game 1 and then won 3-2 in a winner-take-all 11-1. And then they lost game 1 at Dominion Christian 2-1, and then won game 2, 15-1, dominated, ran rule them, and then beat game 3 in a winner-take-all 7-3. So Pinewood back in the championship game as they're going to be taking on now Frederica. Pinewood is 20-10 are the Patriots. They finished 8-1 in their region, and I honestly think that this team is really good, and Brett Lewis and them, this is a toss-up, man, between them and Frederica. Pinewood, with the experience, I'm going to lean Pinewood. I'm going to say the number 2 seed manages to win. Again, we've had chalk. We're going to have chalk the rest of the way. 2A, 3A, and then, of course, 4A. No shock there. 1A was the only one. How do you see this one playing out, Frederica and Pinewood?
Well, Frederica, 21-6, Pinewood, 21-10, but you could throw out the record books because I think this is also going to be an evenly matched series. And I think the pitching is going to be the key. You saw that the game 3 starter for Frederica was able to get the 4-0 shutout in game 3. Are they going to have the depth in pitching? Frederica, it seems like they have the starting pitching to match Pinewood. Again, I know you're going to probably have a busy May 31st because I think this is going 3 games too. I honestly think that the first 3 classifications are going to go 3 games because these teams are just evenly matched. And remember, we're going to have a new champion in 3A because Terrell Academy won it last year. So, it's either going to be Frederica or Pinewood coming on top as the 3A champion.
Yep, and I completely agree with that, man. And I think this is awesome to be able to see what's happening in this 3A classification. And I cannot wait to be able to call those games. And Rick Beach actually will be on the call. He'll be on the call with Steve Smith both days. So looking forward to hearing them. Me and Dave he'll be on the call, and I'll be his caller for the 1 p.m. And now let's go to the 4A classification, Rich. And we got a rematch of last year's state championship. Number 1 FPD, 30-3. Iain Johnson, an All-American, All-State type player. Junior is going to be drafted. This guy's sensational, and he's taking on another guy, a sophomore, who's going to be drafted. He's sensational, Brendan Neal. You got Brookstone, you got FPD. I'll let you start with FPD as they took care of business against Athens Christian and Stratford. FPD has not lost a game in quite some time, and Coach Moore, they're really good, and they won 30 games for a region this year, and they lead actually in the entire GIAA in wins with their 30-3 record.
Yeah, FPD, the number 1 overall seed, had no problem taking care of business against Athens Christian as they won both games in the doubleheader on May the 23rd, 10-0 and 9-1. So they win in dominant fashion. You talk about Iain Johnson, only a junior, one of the top baseball players in the GIAA, but this is going to be a battle of wits and the pitching depth. Can the pitching depth of FPD match the pitching depth of Brookstone? And once again, we could end up seeing a long series that could get to a game 3. We may have all 4 classifications playing on the 31st. And I know that we would love that as a baseball fan. Synovus Park would love it. The city of Columbus would love it because there's just something exciting about a winner-take-all game 3. And I do think that FPD, who lost as a number 1 seed last year to Brookstone, they got something to prove. They want to get that state championship. They came so close in the football championship, but to fall to Bullock Academy, when you think of excellence in the GIAA, you think of First Presbyterian Day. And, of course, to my knowledge, I believe they're the only GIAA team. We haven't had a Where Are They Now segment in a while, but First Presbyterian Day is the home to John Rocker. They got his jersey retired in the gym. So yeah, no doubt. He's out. They got guys playing the Major League Baseball, and I think they got one on their team right now, Mr. Johnson. They take on Brookstone, the number 2 seed. Remember that quarterfinals against Bullitt, they lost game 1, 7-0. Yep. They battled back, won game 2, 8-3. They won game 3 on a Monday, 10-0. And then they just came and just took care of business against Tatnall, 13-3 in game 1. Chano Kim was sensational on the mound. The bats were hot. Neal had multiple hits, and they were able to run rule Tatnall Square 13-3 in the 6th inning. And then in this second game, Brendan Neal threw a 7-inning gem, 10 strikeouts, and they won 2-1. Luke Lowry, who threw that no-hitter, again, he threw a no-hitter against Bullock last week, had 2 huge hits, and one of them was the game-winning run. What eventually became the game-winning run when they went up 2-0. Tatnall did score in the 7th, 1 run, but I felt this was an evenly matched series going into it, and Brookstone looked like the better team. And now you got a rematch of last year, and you got the pitching staff of Brookstone that's loaded. By the way, FPD is 32-3 now. They were 30-3 going into last year. But the pitching staff of Brookstone taking on the hitting of FPD, who had no problems with the number 4 seed Athens Christian, 10-0, 9-1. Yeah, no problems at all. They haven't had problems scoring. They lead actually, I think, the GIAA in runs this year. I think it's the hitting of FPD, the pitching of Brookstone. You got Kim, Neal, and Lowry. Can the bats of FPD get those guys in trouble and make them use more arms than they need to? If not,
Brookstone's set up to go 3 games where FPD's not. I think FPD wants to try to make this 2 because not many teams got a game 3 started through a no-hitter like Brookstone does and Luke Lowry. I am going to lean towards Brookstone repeating as state champions. Would not be surprised, though, if FPD gets on the 34 wins this year and wins the championship. Coach Morris has done an unbelievable job since taking over the baseball program back in 2021. But I'm going to lead Brookstone just because I think pitching wins you championship, and I think they got the best staff moving forward here. What do you think, Richard?
Yeah, I agree, Thrift. Pitching does win championships, even if one of their starting pitchers ends up losing that game 1 or game 2, because the bats are going to come out for FPD. You talk about Keon Johnson. They also have some players around them. If Brookstone decides not to pitch to them, they got some other hitters on that team that will make you pay. But the X factor is the fact that Brookstone has a game 3 starter that could easily be a number 1 starter in Luke Lowry. If you're throwing Luke Lowry in game 3, I like your chances. And I do think that it goes 3 games. I think that FPD finds a way to either win game 1 or game 2. And we are going to have all 4 games in the GIAA on Saturday, May the 31st. And
you can't make up your mind, Richard. You don't know if it's going to be all 4 or it's going to be, but I'm with you. I honestly think all 4 series are going to go down the wire. And I honestly think it's something like that could happen. But you never know, man. Think weird things. It's baseball. It's really hard to predict.
We could have one game.
Can happen.
We could have no games. We could have 1 game on Saturday. We could have no games.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see how the rest of the playoffs end, and I can't wait to be on the call this Thursday and Friday, and of course Saturday if necessary at Synovus Park. It is a beautiful venue. I think this is incredible for the athletes to be able to play at. What a job by Clint Morgan, Sam Whitlock, Tony Morgan, also Kent Copeland and Robert and Tommy Marshall for finding this type of venue to showcase the GIAA athletes. First-class operation. I've said it since football when we were at Georgia Southern. I said it since basketball when we were at CSU, and now here at Synovus Park. I've been so impressed. Thank you to Columbus Sports Council and Mary Sherman for helping orchestrate this, Richard, and it is going to be an incredible time. And that is, again, 1A at 10 a.m., 2A at 1 p.m., 3A at 4 p.m., 4A at 7 p.m. Come out, watch the games, enjoy, have a great time, and come say hey to us. We'll be in one of those suites calling what should be a fantastic couple of series, and looking forward to it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, Richard goes into detail about those soccer brackets right here on Inside the GIAA with our soccer analyst, Coach Iain Jones. We'll be right back after this.
GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
And welcome back to Inside the GIAA. It's time to preview the soccer championships, and they are going to be coming your way tomorrow at Stratford Academy. Unfortunately, I will not be on the call because I have a work conflict, but Thrift Barringer is going to make his broadcasting debut for GIAA soccer. I cannot wait to hear it on GIAA.tv, and joining me for the final time this season is our soccer correspondent for Inside the GIAA, and his boys team for Stratford Academy is in the state championship. Please welcome our soccer correspondent and Stratford boys soccer coach, Coach Iain Jones. How you doing, Coach?
I'm great, Richard. I appreciate all the coverage you guys have been giving soccer this spring, and certainly I know all the players and coaches are excited. For the state finals coming up.
First of all, Coach, congratulations. I know you're excited. You have a chance to go back-to-back for your Stratford boys. But before we go into the 4A, we're actually going to start day by day. We're going to break down the brackets as they play out. So starting tomorrow at 2:30 in the afternoon at Stratford Academy, we have the 2A Girls Championship. We've got Central Fellowship, the defending champions. They were the overall number 1 seed, taking on Westminster Christian, who were the runners-up last year, that are the number 2 seed. And, Coach, I got to be honest with you, when I think of this matchup, I think of star power. I think of Lois Tanner, who was the player of the year, only a sophomore. I think of you got Faith Lawhead. You've got Charity Lawhead. You got the Lawhead sisters. You got Emery Andrews, a great goalkeeper. We've seen this play out last year. And Central Fellowship came out on top. Is anything changed, or what are you looking forward to about this matchup as we get a rematch of the championship last year?
Well, I remember watching them battle it out last year, and I think Westminster Christian were the favorites last year coming into the finals. And there was just something about Central Fellowship at halftime. With just kind of overhearing some of the coaching that was going on from their team, and the belief that those girls started having in one another. I think that's what kind of put them over the edge last year and gave them the win. And certainly this year, I've watched them play a couple times, and certainly I think Central Fellowship have earned that number 1 seed. And coming off a state title a title run from last year. Certainly, it's no easy feat to get back to the finals 2 years in a row, but defending it is going to be very difficult. It's going to be a tight contest, I think. I don't think either team is going to come out and blow the other one out. I'll be honest with you. I think it's probably going to be like a 1-0 or a 2-1 game, and it's going to be tough for me to make the call because obviously I've got some friends that that coach over at Central Fellowship, but certainly I think either team could really this is going to be a good, entertaining game between those two teams.
Yeah, and Central Fellowship just right down the road in South Macon. It's going to be kind of like a home matchup for them. You talk about last year, Westminster Christian was the favorite. They were the overall number 1 seed. Central Fellowship was the number 3 seed, got the upset over Georgia Christian in the semifinals to not only get to the championship, but win it. It should be an exciting soccer match. I can't wait for it, Coach. And, of course, you can catch it on GIAA.tv as Thrift Barringer will be on the call. And then immediately after, we've got the 3A Girls Championship. We've got Frederica, and they are also the defending champions, and they are taking on St. Andrews. And so you look at Frederica, they were the overall number 1 seed. They got by Brookwood. They got by Terrell. And then St. Andrews was able to get by John Millage, the number 6 seed. St. Andrews was the number 2 seed. And you look at this matchup, can Frederica repeat, or are we looking at a possible upset here in the 3A as St. Andrews might end up pulling off the upset? What do you like in this matchup for the 3A Girls Championship?
Well, I think Frederica's had the easier road to get to the championship game. With wins over Brookwood and Terrell Academy and St. Andrews. I mean, then they had I think John Mills, like I called it, would give them a good challenge, and they pulled that one up 5-3. So, and that's kind of an unusual score line for soccer, but certainly a very entertaining game for the fans. I think Frederica are going to come in as the favorites. I think from the amount of players that they have, playing, whether it's club soccer or travel soccer or whatnot, I think that they will probably be the favorites to win that, in my opinion. But certainly, I'm sure St. Andrews is going to come in. I know they played each other twice during the regular season, and so I feel like, and if I recall correctly, I believe Frederica swept in both games. Beating a team 3 times is always a difficult feat. But certainly, I think Frederica will be prepared for that game, and I would anticipate Frederica repeating as state champions.
Yeah, and Frederica last year they were the number 1 overall seed. the path to win the championship last year was razor thin. This is going to be a rematch of the quarterfinals. Frederica won against St. Andrews 2-1. St. Andrews knows Frederica. They play them tough. St. Andrews was the 8th seed last year. They were able to get by Deerfield Windsor in the semis off penalty kicks, and they beat Westminster Schools of Augusta 1-0. So they've only been winning these matches by 1 goals last season. I think St. Andrews could surprise them. But yeah, and then the nightcap is going to finish off on Tuesday with the 4A Girls Championship, and it's a repeat championship like last season where Brookstone ended up coming out on top over Pacelli. These two schools very familiar with each other because they're both from Columbus, and it seems like this year, Brookstone being the number 6 seed, I always have this cliche with defending champions that get written off or because they're underseeded. You never count out the heart of a champion, and yeah, it's a cliche I like using, but this run that Brookstone has been on to upset the Kings Academy and then to upset Brookstone, then to upset Stratford. Obviously, Stratford was the favorite last week, and then to come and play Pacelli, a team that they are familiar with. Now, I found out this because I know Coach Zach Cochran, because he coaches the girls' flag football. The Pacelli soccer team has never won a state championship. They are the overall number 1 seed, and they got by First Presbyterian Day, actually in convincing fashion. The week before, they ended up defeating Bullock Academy 4-0. I know that matchup against First Presbyterian Day, they were able to pull away and get that victory. How do you see this playing out? Do you think the familiarity between these two schools, with Pacelli beating Brookstone twice in the regular season, can Brookstone make the adjustments and pull off what I'd say an upset, but Brookstone could possibly go back-to-back? Or do you think that Pacelli, too strong, overall number 1 seed, one of the top soccer programs in the state? How do you see this matchup playing out between these two rivals?
Well, hats go off to both coaching staffs for not allowing their teams to to look ahead to the state finals. I know Pacelli is a very 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 well coached team, and FPD's first year coach Seth Bergenbaugh has done a fantastic job with the girls program, taking over for Josh Trias, and you knew that game was going to be a shootout. I felt, but I still felt Pacelli probably would be the favorite based on who they've played and their schedule. And then Brookstone, I mean, I said it. They're a 6 seed, but they're really not a 6 seed. I mean, they clearly were a very very good side, and they came in to Stratford last week and they scored 2 goals to take a 2-0 lead, and the Stratford girls fought back. But going into the finals, this one's going to be a tough one to call because, again, beating a team 3 times in a row is always a tough feat, from a mental standpoint. And I've said it over the last few weeks in regards to mental preparation. The team that's most mentally prepared, ready to rock and roll, will be the team that can probably have a little edge. And but I think Pacelli right now is probably the favorite just because of how tough their schedule was. I think their preparation is going to be a little bit better than Brookstone's in regards to their schedule, but certainly I would not count out Brookstone, and I would anticipate a tight game, or a 1-0, 2-1 game again. So.
And by the way, Pacelli's got like 3 8th graders that get a lot of playing time. You talk about Callista Williams, Mia Camp, you've got Davenport. I mean, Coach Cochran has got a young team, but he's also got Addie Christensen. He's got Izzy Ramos. I mean, he's got some pretty good players. And I think that Pacelli probably ends up winning their first ever. Hard to believe. Out of all those championships that Pacelli has won, that they have never won a girls soccer championship. Mm-hmm. I know that whoever wins, I know us in Columbus, we're rooting for either team. I think it's fascinating. We get Brookstone Pacelli again in a GIAA final. We had this for volleyball, but Coach, all right, we'll have a day 1 recap and then turn it around. Stratford Academy's got to host the boys championship, and things will get started at 2:30. We're going to start with the 2A boys championship on Wednesday. It is Holy Spirit and Heritage. Holy Spirit was the runners-up in 3A the season ago. Heritage was also a 3A school, and they went down to 2A. You got Holy Spirit, who is the number 1 seed. Heritage, the number 2 seed. We know we're going to get a new champion in 2A. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I kind of looked at. I was looking at both teams' schedule this morning on my drive back to Macon, and I'll tell you, Heritage. I think they're going to be a lot better side than people realize. Obviously they're both teams dropped down from 3A. This is going to be a tighter matchup than probably what people think. But again, I talked to Coach Sam Walker with Holy Spirit a few weeks ago, and we were both talking about mental preparation and making sure our kids are focused. I would anticipate a very, very good game out of both teams. And again, on the boys' side, I don't like making predictions because I don't want to have that come back and bite me down the road. Hey, Coach Jones called us to lose. But certainly, I think it's going to be an entertaining game from both teams. Stratford, we played both teams last year, and certainly, we've played them a couple times over the last couple of seasons. And they both have got very solid programs, so I would anticipate a very entertaining game between a 1 and a 2 seed.
All right, let's go to the 3A Boys Championship, which will be at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, May the 28th. We got the defending champions, Westminster Schools of Augusta, taking on the newcomer, Brookwood. I don't know exactly where they were. They weren't even in the bracket last year for 3A. But Westminster Schools of Augusta, who was the 2 seed last year, they defeated Holy Spirit Prep in the 3A championship. You got the number 1 seed, Westminster Schools of Augusta, taking on the number 2 seed, Brookwood. Do you think Westminster Schools of Augusta can repeat, or do you like Brookwood's chances? It seems like this up-and-coming GIAA school is starting to make waves in the GIAA.
I remember playing Brookwood in middle school probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And at that time, they had some really good talent coming through. So maybe that's where this talent is, things have started to come together for Brookwood. And so, and that's great to see a team out of Thomasville, be able to put something together like that. And so you got to give Brookwood some credit for their wins over John Mills with a 5-1 win, and then a 2-1 win over St. Andrews. So I think them going into a game against Westminster of Augusta, that's going to be a really tough game. I've said it from all season long. I think Westminster is arguably one of the best teams across all classifications. For argument's sake, I mean they lost to Tallulah Falls. They beat Stratford 5-1. So they're a solid team, very, very well coached. And I know that the coach Sean Brow is going to have them ready to play. So I would anticipate a Westminster win. I just hope Brookwood's able to give them a competitive game. And certainly, if anything, I think it'll be a really good experience for Brookwood as they not just build for this year, but certainly for years to come.
Yeah, and Brookwood finished 4-8 last year. So what a turnaround for the Brookwood Warriors out of Thomasville. And finally, 7:30, prime time. You guys are in prime time. It's your team, Stratford Academy. Your school is hosting. First of all, before we preview the game with Pacelli, this is a rematch of the 4A championship last year. Pacelli ends up getting a huge upset win over Tallulah Falls. Just talk about what it means to have your school hosting the soccer championships.
Well, it's a huge honor for Stratford to be able to host the state finals. Back in the 90s when our soccer complex was first built, we hosted the state finals, on and off for several years. And it's just something that the Stratford soccer family is taking great pride in trying to put on the best show that we can. And it's not just for tournaments, it's for every home event. We always have the grill going, like during the game. I mean, if you're coaching, you're just going to smell those hot dogs and burgers. And sometimes we have special menus but our volunteers, our parents, they really come together and help us put together a show. And I certainly hope everyone enjoys themselves when they come to our campus. And And the one thing I will tell people is that if you have a question or a problem or concern, don't hesitate to reach out to any of our volunteers that are here, because, whether it's, you get an elderly person that needs a ride to their car or a pickup from their car so they can get to the stadium. We've got golf carts ready, for those folks. Parking is going to be, every time you host, it's going to be tough. But, I think, we're going to be running golf carts throughout our campus to get people to the stadium. So, my recommendation is park on the far side near the football stadium. So then that way, you're not driving around and looking for a spot and then having to drive around again. But we are really excited to host it. And, whether we were playing in it or not, we're going to put on a top-notch show.
Absolutely. And a way to put a bow on this championship is to have the matchup that you had last year, Pacelli, Stratford, for the second time. Pacelli, the 4 seed, which I'll be honest with you, Coach, their record does not reflect the type of team they are. And I think that I think that they should have got higher than a 4 seed, because you look at their schedule. They play a lot of GHSA schools. They beat the GHSA school that went to the championship in 2A in Shaw. They beat the defending 3A champions. They lost to Columbus 3-2. They beat a 7A school in the AHSAA. And so they got a huge upset over Tallulah Falls, 3-1. You guys, you beat Calvary 1-0, but I was very impressed with how Calvary making their debut in the GIAA, and now the stage is set. You got Pacelli, Stratford once again. What are you looking forward to about this matchup with a Pacelli team coached by Goja, who really, they won the championship 2 years ago, and they're once again in a state championship. They've done such a great job, and he's got a lot of Alex Goja, the head coach of Pacelli, has got a lot of senior leaders, and he's got some high-flying goal scorers, including Jack Fry. Noah Bowers is just relentless, and then also the freshman, Bridger Arsenault. How you liking this matchup with Pacelli? What are you looking forward to about facing Pacelli once again in the state championship?
Well, I'm not surprised that Pacelli won. I mean, certainly, I knew that game was going to be a tight game between Tallulah and Pacelli, and you got to give credit to both teams. I watched about 15 minutes of the game on Saturday, and it was a very tight game. But I think Pacelli, they've proven time and time again, that they're the team that is going to do what it takes to get to the finals, and they've done a fantastic job. Alex is a fantastic coach. He's got a lot of great talent, with his older talent, and now he's got some younger talent coming through the ranks. So certainly, to see them back in the finals is not a surprise one bit. But you got to give your hats off to Tallulah. I think Tallulah had a fantastic season. I think they've struggled with some injuries from what I understand the last few weeks. But certainly Pacelli went up to Tallulah Falls and did a good job and got the result that they needed. And I'd like to give credit to Calvary Christian. Calvary Christian were not a 6 seed. I mean, they were a very, very, very good side. Matt Orr has done a fantastic job with that program in their first year in the GIAA. And that starting forward, Zach, and their center back, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I mean, they were beasts and gave us a lot of trouble. And so certainly, proud of our guys for sticking together and getting a result together. But certainly, they pushed us to the limits. And so I think, you got two of the best teams, I think, in the finals. I think if Tallulah or Calvary were in the finals, that would have been that would have been an awesome state championship game as well. But I think to have Stratford and Pacelli back in the finals, I think you got two teams that have wanted to be back here, and I think it's going to be an entertaining game for sure. I think there's some revenge that Pacelli probably would want against us, just like we had last year when we were going into the playoffs. We had a revenge factor that we want to get to the finals. So certainly, I know it's going to be a great game. I know Alex is going to have them well prepared, and myself and my coaching staff will be hard at work today at practice to get them ready.
And I can't wait. By the way, that player for Calvary, his name is Zach Madrigal.
Yeah, that's it.
But let's talk about your team. Who are some of the players that we're looking forward to seeing in this championship? Who are some of the key players that we should be watching out for in this championship game for Stratford?
Well, I'll start with that back line. George Dunn, number 25, and then Adi Patel, number 16. They've been leading that back line as a starting center backs for the last 2 seasons, or this will be their 3rd season together. And they're just, when they are on, they're just very difficult to to beat, whether it's balls in the air, whether it's 1v1. Then when you go into the midfield, you got Drew Sutherland, who's number 8, who's done a really good job. He's strong in the air. He's a 2-sport athlete. Plays golf. He's going on to University of North Georgia to play golf. So he's had to split time with golf and soccer, and he's been phenomenal. Wes Flournoy, number 15, he's our leading goal scorer. And a lot of times, teams try to double team. They'll foul him a lot. But what they don't understand is if you do that to him, you're leaving someone else open. And we've got some younger players that have stepped up. Wes's younger brother, Brady, has scored the game winner against Calvary the other night. And he's stepped up big time this year in regards to he may not have the stats like everyone else, but he's the guy that gives the assist to the assist. And then we've got some younger players, Peyton McCallum, number 37, who has really blossomed as the season has gone on, and he's a skill player. He can play anywhere. We've had him playing wing, we've had him playing attacking mid, DM, outside back, center back. So having players like that has been really, really beneficial for us. But the thing that I like about our team though is we've got a pretty deep bench, and so if a player is off, and I can pull them off, I can pull a player and put someone else in. 9 times out of 10, that play's like, you're right, coach. The team's more important than me and my personal, my personal goals for the game. So, we're talented, but talent doesn't win championships. My guys are aware of that, and so we'll see what happens on Wednesday night.
Cannot wait for that. Thank you so much, Coach, for being a correspondent here on Inside the GIAA. It's been a great soccer season, but it all comes down to Wednesday night to put a bow on not only the soccer season, but pretty much, well, then we got the baseball championships, but pretty much spring sports as we get ready for next season. So, it's been a lot of fun here on Inside the GIAA.
Well, again, Richard, I just really appreciate all y'all's time to showcase not just soccer, but all our sports. We got a lot of student athletes that work their tails off during the spring, and a lot of them play more than one sport, which, is pretty awesome too. So we appreciate all you do to highlight these student athletes.
All right. Thanks, Coach. That's our soccer correspondent and Brookstone Boys head coach, Iain Jones. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, Thrift and I are going to wrap this thing up. It's the championship edition of Inside the GIAA. We'll be right back after this.
GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more, featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Inside the GIAA. What a fantastic segment, Richard, between you and Coach Iain Johnson. He's been our soccer contributor all season long. Do it again. Welcome back to Inside the GIAA. Thank you to Coach Iain Jones, our soccer contributor all season long. He's been fantastic. You broke down every single championship. That was very enlightening, educational, and I look forward to seeing if y'all's theories are right and Great conversation as always. We appreciate Coach Iain Jones and look forward to being at Stratford and seeing him and that fantastic campus hosting the GIAA Soccer Championships Tuesday and Wednesday. Richard, I also want to say congratulations to all the award recipients of the Morris C. Johnson Award, Academic Athletic Award. So again, Morris C. Johnson Academic Athletic Award recipients, congratulations. There are a ton of them. You can go to the GIAA Sports Facebook page and Instagram and see who all those winners are. We didn't want to mispronounce any names, but there was a ton of them on the list. Congratulations to all these recipients. They did a fantastic job, and we appreciate what they did this year for their respective schools. And we look forward to celebrating them as they are the Morris C. Johnson Academic Athlete Award recipients. All right. Thank y'all so much for watching. We've had a fantastic year all season long, from starting this Inside the GIAA show back in January to continue now through spring season, to the football scoreboard show we did all year, all season long, into the playoffs and the championship, the state championship preview shows. Man, what a year. Can't wait for next year and can't wait to put a bow on the 2025 spring championships with soccer coming up tomorrow and Wednesday, and then baseball Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Rich.
Yeah. And as expected, this Inside the GIAA will continue in the fall because we got to touch up on volleyball, softball, cross country. These were sports that we did not get an opportunity to talk about because we had our football scoreboard show. But
right, and I do want to say we will have some shows in the summertime as well. Just to say hello. Don't let you forget about us. Let you know any news and notes that are happening around the GIAA, and looking forward to next year, Richard. So you're right. We got volleyball start. So we'll be starting this a lot sooner than we did last year with softball as well. And we're presented by the Beck Center of Academic and Athletic Success. Again, thank you to Roger Beck for his support, Stan Whitlock, Clint Morgan, of course, Kent Copeland, Robert. Thank you to Tommy Marshall, the commissioner, of course, Tony Morgan, Brett Taylor, and the rest of the GIAA.TV staff. We've had a lot of fun. Banks fan, I can't wait to see you. Done a great job with social media, and we're going to see you next time. Make sure, again, you can watch all the games on GIAA.TV. Okay, GIAA.TV is the name of the site. That's where you got to go to watch the games. And, Richard, if you go to GIAA.TV, I'm pulling it up right now, and they already got live events. They got Inside the GIAA, and they, of course, got the Vault, which is very affordable. Now, here's the thing, Richard, let me tell you this. Soccer championships, $39.95 for all access to the Girls State Championship games on Wednesday. That's 3 championship games. That is basically a little over $12 a game. Very affordable. For $39.95 to watch all the games on the girls, $39.95 to watch the games on the boys, and then $29.95 each day to watch game 1, game 2, and game 3. Think about that. $29.95 each day for the baseball. That's 4 games for $30, Richard. That's $7 a game. That's cheaper to watch at home almost than it is going to the ballpark. GIAA.TV. It's already there. You can already make an account and be ready to watch all these games. You can follow us on social media to get any information, and then make sure to go to the Vault, Richard. I have the Vault, and I think it's the best thing going. I can watch all the state championship games, Richard, and it's at a very affordable price to do the Vault for each year. So come on, it's only a certain amount a month. You cannot beat it anywhere else. Again, the Vault is where it is. I know you love having that subscription to the Vault, don't you, Rich?
Yes, I do. I love going back.
$5.99, and by the way, $5.99 a month, $50.99 for the year, so $6 a month. Come on, man. You pay more for Hulu and stuff, and we got way more games in our archives.
Man, I could go back into that first championship we called back in February of 2024 at Columbus State. Man, it of course, you've been calling games for GIAA.TV since 2023.
I'll go back and watch some football ones. That's what I'm about to do right now. Thank y'all so much for watching Inside the GIAA. We'll see you later this week. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We'll give you more news and notes and let you know what's going on, and maybe some previews too. It's Inside the GIAA signing off, saying thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Presented by the Beck Center.
GIAA.TV now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.TV Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.TV Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.TV Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.TV Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.TV Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.TV.